BTE, Being the Elite, the Young Bucks long-running internet show, which, of course, they used, I gotta say, brilliantly to promote themselves leading into AEW.
Have you ever tried to watch one of those?
It's not for me. It's terrible, but some people really seem to like their
How do they
humor.
get anybody? There is no humor. It's
terrible.
A bunch of supposedly grown adults acting childish and doing stupid shit that amuses themselves. And that's pretty much the gist of it. But that, unfortunately, now the amusement will have to be left to themselves in the privacy of their own homes. They can't amuse themselves publicly because you were about to say, were you not, Being the Elite? The long-running comedy series has been suspended as well.
Well, not suspended, but they've suspended production for the time being. No one.
That's what I mean. It's suspended, just hanging up there like dirty laundry on a line, just flapping in the breeze. It's not going nowhere. They're not going to do any more of those because what are they going to say? How do they make a public appearance of any kind, in person, on video, whatever, and say anything about anything else? People go, fuck you. We want to know what happened. What do you say? What went on? So they've all got to hide, which is not a problem for Punk because if you notice, most of the time when he goes home, he apparently puts his feet up and says, fuck the world, and doesn't have to be the center of attention. But these little fucking worms, they're out under everybody's fucking feet, getting in everybody's goddamn crotch.
That is an interesting question about the Bucks. Looking at it objectively, without you just killing them, and, you know, I don't disagree with you on most things with them. But looking at them and their role in that company and their role in professional wrestling as a whole and the rise of independent wrestling when they were there for several years, how do you come back from this? People know you got, not to use a crass term, but people know you got your ass kicked. Everyone knows you got your ass kicked. I mean, no one's saying anything else either, by the way. No one from the other side is saying, oh, no, they were fine. No, they got their ass kicked. People know this. So how do you come back from that? If there really are lawsuits flying up and down and all over the place, they're never going to mention the name CM Punk ever again. So how do you come back if you can't even mention the guy who kicked your ass? Are you going to come back and just be those heels again? Flapping your arms and acting like that? I mean, how do the Young Bucks come back?
I don't want to give them any ideas because maybe they won't be able to think of anything and that means they won't come back. But again, I know, again, Kenny's such a fucking odd duck that he probably wouldn't mind coming. Yes, I couldn't believe people were striking each other all around me. You know, but the other two, no, I don't see what they can fucking say. And Punk can come out and say, you know, anytime he shows back up in public, well, where were we before I got so rudely interrupted? Because he can carry that off and his fans are going to fucking die laughing. They ain't going to give a shit. I get, you know, the buckaroos out there, I guess they're going to go, oh, it was so mean. It was so mean of Punk to beat up Matt and Nick. He should have to go to bed without his Pop-Tarts. You know, but otherwise, you know, I don't see what,
you know, part of the thing is everything you've said about them regarding this has been true. And that these are two guys that have never been in a fight. You know, maybe they've had a little tussle here and there, but they've never really been in a fight. So I don't think they, in their head, expect to encounter a fight, maybe. I mean, I don't think these guys know. I mean, you talked about the difference in wrestlers, how wrestlers today are one thing or another. It's true with them. They're not fighters. These are guys performing athletic wrestling moves, and that's part of their issue. They want to be accepted as just doing that.
Because some people are going to, Cornette, there's a lot of people in the yes, there's a lot of people in the wrestling business that aren't shooters or tough guys or whatever. But that doesn't, the Young Bucks have never been in the wrestling business. They're not old enough to have been in the wrestling business. It ceased to exist about the time that they popped up. If the wrestling business still existed when the Young Bucks popped up, they wouldn't have been in it. And in the wrestling business, what happened is entirely predictable. A guy says, you got a problem, come in my locker room and see me. They showed up. That means they had a problem, and that's what they were there for, and they got beat to the fucking punch. It's not goddamn surprising. That's the wrestling business. Where the complicated part comes in is that, number one, as we mentioned, the majority of them in the invading group were executive vice presidents instead of just wrestlers. And secondly, they probably were astonished because they've probably never seen anybody get in a fight in a locker room before, especially themselves. And they were astonished that something like that could happen because they've never been in the wrestling business. But for anybody who's actually been in the wrestling business, they were about as surprised that that could happen as they're surprised that somebody might fucking speed on the interstate. Oh, golly.
How do you think that changes someone, though? Again, take your feelings for them out of it. But they've been there since the beginning. The company launched with them. They've been a part of the branding. I mean, the company's All Elite Wrestling for a reason. So they've always been there, and now this has happened. You know, they went in there in their own company and confronted someone, and however they thought it was going to go, it went the exact opposite way. I mean, it's got to be tough to just come back in again, doesn't it? I mean, when the fans start chanting CM Punk at them, how are they going to handle that? I mean, it goes both ways. I'm sure it's going to happen to CM Punk, too.
Actually, honest to God, do you think that, I mean, now they'll do it just because we're saying this, but in all honesty, at what point can you see Punk in the ring doing something with somebody where the fans are going to be chanting, Young Bucks, Young Bucks? But I can see the chant of CM Punk at the Young Bucks. I can see that happening. And they'll fucking despise it.